joining me on the Athlete Highlight. I wanted to start by having you explain a little bit about how you started running and your background.
Okay. Well, I've been around for a lot of years, so there's a lot. I'll try to keep it short and sweet and overview. But basically, from an athlete perspective, I've really been an athlete my whole life. I mean, starting elementary school all the way through high school, I did all the sports, and I did not do sports in college, but I was always active. Weightlifting has always been like the foundation. I've started lifting weights when I was 12, and I've never stopped. That's always been the foundation and core because I love it. So I've always done that. And then I just, would do just casual running and riding bikes and that sort of thing. And it was probably, I did a lot of trail running, a lot of mountain biking. And then probably a little over 20 years ago now, I heard about adventure racing. And that's when I was like, this is really cool. Because I'd never done any kind of racing as far as running or biking had gone. So I heard about this adventure racing, which the disciplines included running, trail running, mountain biking, and kayaking. And I was like, that sounds amazing. And then they threw in special tests. So you never knew what was going to happen. You'd be riding the trails or running the trails, and all of a sudden they'd stop you and you'd have to do something crazy. Like carry your bike for a certain distance. Or crawl through a mud puddle. So it was a lot of fun. So that's when I really started actually training specifically to improve on running and my biking skills. So I did that for a while, a few years, but it was a team sport. So then as I'm getting, we all, my other teammates and I, we all have kids and we have careers. And so it got a little bit harder to do a team sport like that. So that's when I kind of started doing stuff solo, and then just started doing the 5K and 10K road races and half marathons. And then, but I really liked the adventure racing where you're working with different disciplines. So I was like, triathlon looks cool. Let's try triathlon. So then I started doing triathlon, and that was really cool. And then throwing in this swim discipline, which I love swimming. So I gave that a try for a little while. I also did some duathlons, which was running and biking. I did both trail running and mountain biking, and then on the road running and road cycling. So did a little of that. And I just loved competing, and I just loved trying new things. And then I decided to take a break and give a stab at bodybuilding because it was always in the back of my mind. Maybe I should try it. So I did that for a couple of years, and that was cool. It was a great experience. I did want to get back into the running aspect, and I did not get back into the biking because I actually ended up selling all my bikes and just got into the running. But I really like trail running. The roads is not really where I find joy, but the trails I've absolutely loved. So just got back into the trail running, and then started coming up to New Hampshire. I was living in Connecticut and then in Rhode Island. Just started coming up to New Hampshire more, and it was really more hiking. I just always loved the mountains, loved them, spent a lot of my life hiking, camping, everything. But I'd never run in the mountains. I'd done trail running, and I came up, it was probably 4 years ago now, came up to New Hampshire for a long weekend, was up at Lonesome Lake, and there was this guy who was running on the trails up there. And I was like, and he stopped and he was making conversation. And I was like, you're running up here? He's like, yeah. I was like, how can you possibly run on these trails? And I was just so intrigued. And we started talking about the New Hampshire 48. I had never heard of this. And just one thing led to another. Anyway, started researching all of this about the New Hampshire 48. I was like, I've got to go up there and do this New Hampshire 48. And then I met my friend Mike, who he is amazing in the White Mountains. And he's a really incredibly strong, fast runner in the mountains. And he started doing some peaks with me to get me going on the 48. And actually he saw me through the 48. That's my first round. But as soon as I had all the big backpacks and everything. And the first time I went out with him on the trails, I was like, and he had his Solomon pack and he's running. And I'm like, oh my God, that's what I want to do. I'm like, so get the backpack, get the Solomon pack. And I just started moving faster and started running. And I just loved it so much. Finished that first round of 48. And then was just kind of looking for something else. And because I live near the Belknap Mountains and Gunstock, that's all in my backyard, heard about the Gunstock races. And I was like, ooh, what's this all about? So it had been a few years since I'd done anything competitive. And the 10K peak to peak race, that is what I was like, that looks cool because you're running up the summit, across the ridge and back down. And I did that. And that was my first mountain race. I had only been, done a lot of trails, but never an actual like mountains. And that was it. I was like, I've got to do this. And I should probably backtrack a little bit. When I first started my first round of the 48, that was just before COVID. So it was because I had come up that fall 4 years ago, October, and that's when I heard about it. And I was like, I need to start this. So I started that winter. So it was January and February. No, I'm sorry, February. I did 2 peaks in the winter. And then March, I did one more peak. That was 2020. And then COVID hit. And then I couldn't drive up to New Hampshire anymore. I was living in Rhode Island. And I was so disappointed. So then, so I had only done 3 peaks. And then, so it was April, May, June, July, finally everything opened up and I could come back up again. So July, I started coming up and I came up I would drive up and back. I stayed overnight a couple of times. It was mostly up and back. And then I started taking vacation days during the week so I could come up even more. So July, August, September, I finished my first round of the 48s because I was coming up all the time and I just loved it. And I was like, I just have to move up here. This is where I need to be. So that was 2020. Actually, November, I moved up. It's actually coming up on my anniversary, 3-year anniversary of being up here. So anyway, I moved up here, living in the Belknap area. And that's when I heard about the Gunstock races and all of that. So did the 10K peak to peak. And I was like, that was a 10K race. I was like, oh my God, I love this. I need to do another mountain race. I need to see what's out there. And that's when I started searching around and I saw the Kilkenny Ridge race. I was like, may as well do a 25 miler. I was like, that looks like so much fun. And that's kind of, and that was really the start of my, wanting to get into like racing in the mountains and running in the mountains. And that's when I met you, at that Kilkenny Ridge race. That was the first time that we met. And then, just started, that was the beginning. So that's kind of how it started.
And I remember how excited you were when you finished. It was awesome.
It was really exciting. It's because it's challenging and it's hard when I'm doing it, but at the same time, it's fun. It's just because it is such a challenge and just because I love being in the mountains so much. So even though it's hard and there are moments where it's like, oh my God, I need to like push through this and what am I doing? But yet overall, it's this joy coming through because it's so much fun. And then when you cross that finish line, it's so exciting.
And I think anybody that knows you knows how much fun you have doing this. I mean, following your social media, knowing you personally, I mean, you just exude joy and excitement when you do this. So I think it's really cool. And something else I really admire about you too is the fact that you're really honest about a lot of your hikes and your runs, with weather. Sometimes you just can't get to the top because either, your dog's not going to make it. It may not be safe for you to proceed. So I think you're an awesome influencer on social media to really show people that it's not always about getting to the summit or finishing a certain route. It's more about making sure you make good choices along the way and then going back and totally knocking it out of the park the next time you show up. So
Thank
very,
you.
really admire that about you. So what is your favorite part about training?
My favorite part is absolutely being in the mountains. I mean, that's the best, during the week, obviously I have my like road runs or the lower elevation trail runs and my speed work and all of that. And it's all good stuff that I need to do. But the mountains is absolutely the best. So,
Yeah.
on the weekends, I get to get those 2 days in. And then now with the group run on Wednesdays, which is awesome
Yeah.
because I get to do mountains again on Wednesday nights too, which is great.
So tell me a little bit about these group runs that look so fun.
We also known as the Cake Club. because there seems to be a birthday every single week that we celebrate. So we always finish. We hang out in the parking lot after and have cake and celebrate. And we've gotten to the point now, though, where if there's not a birthday, we still manage to bring some sort of baked goods and have a little party after. So, but yeah, the group run started, actually the run club just, it's the Mad River Run Club. And we just celebrated the 1 year anniversary this month in October. Yeah, it's still October. So in October. And it just started off as a way of my friend Andy, who started it. He just started it as a way to just kind of get, keep that momentum going through the winter, through, it's dark, and so it started off as a headlamp run, which now it's headlamps again, because it's that time of year. So it was a headlamp run just to keep people motivated, just to get out there on the trails. But it turned into just a group of really great friendships. We all just, everyone is just so great, so friendly. It's like all different types of careers and ages and different goals that we have in life and as an athletes, but it's this one thing that we do together that is just so much fun. And now we do things outside of that as well. So every Wednesday night we meet. It's usually, it depends on the length, but usually between an hour and a half run, and we do all different trails all over. It's never the same place. We kind of do a rotation and then go back and do those again. And it's just a fun time. I look so forward to it. There's a lot of dogs that go too. So Kodiak has a blast because he has all the other pups to play with, and they all get along so well. And it's a really, really great part of my life. And it's also helped me. Well, one, I've developed these great friendships, which has been amazing. So this run club has brought these friends into my life, which is great. And it also has helped me to improve because I got to be honest, when I first started, I was like, oh my God, these people are all like super fast. I'm like, I can't run with these people. I'm like, who do I think I am? I'm like, there's no way. And I even remember literally crying.
I remember you telling me about that.
I was crying on my whole way home. I was like, what am I thinking? I'm like, these kids are so fast. I'm like, I can't do this. But they are so nice and they're so sweet. And it's, everyone waits for each other at the junctions and things like that. And I was like, they're so awesome. I really want to do this. So I was like, I'm going to go back again. And first of all, they're just such a great group. They're not like all, leaving you behind and it's waiting for one another. But it has encouraged me to push myself harder. And it's been actually it's been great. So that midweek, like extra hard push in my training, where the other runs are easy efforts. And then this one is a harder effort. I've noticed huge improvements. I'm getting so much better in certain areas where my weaknesses are starting to improve, thanks to this great group of people who, help to push me. So,
and I've heard through the grapevine from some of the people you run with that you're getting faster, and it's been really cool because it takes courage to show up and, maybe be a little bit towards the back, but to work yourself towards the front is amazing. And I could remember mountain biking group, that's where I was dead last, and people would just like wait for me. And then one day I started moving up. So, I think advice for anybody looking to go on a group run, don't be afraid if the group is willing to wait for you at junctions. Don't be afraid to show up because, you and I are both proof that, yes, you can definitely benefit from it. And the friendships that it sounds like you've made are fabulous too.
Yeah. And it's
So would
great
you
because
suggest?
we encourage each other because we'll be doing different things. We'll be doing different races and we'll help to, we'll go help support one another, or other events. Maybe someone's having a fundraising event and, there's always these invites. And now we have this other part. We've started a book club. So some of the members of the group, we have a book club going. And
That's
so
awesome.
so it's extended into other things, which has been really great.
Yeah, definitely sounds like one of the coolest group runs around. And if somebody wanted to join, is there a way they would be able to find out about it?
So yes, Mad River Run Club, I'm thinking I will have to check and see if we still post, if there's still the actual club on
Yeah.
Strava. because that was the most common way to find it, is through that. Or I'm trying to think, because we don't have a website. I would say, or if they want to reach out to me and I can find out if,
Yeah.
yeah, that's probably the best way, is to reach out to me,
Okay.
and I'll check with the group to see if there's an official Strava group anymore.
Okay.
Give them the link to. Yeah.
Awesome. So what kind of challenges do you face during your training?
I would have to say the biggest challenges that I have had, and I think we'll still continue to have, is it's dealing with the things that you can't, that you don't have any control over, which is the weather and the trail conditions. Honestly,
Yeah.
those are the two challenges that I've learned a lot. At the very beginning, I would just get so frustrated, and I'd be like, well, I'm supposed to go do this today, and now the weather's doing this, the trail conditions are this, or the water crossings are this. And it's like, what am I supposed to do now? And I would get so frustrated. So I really learned now, the more I've done it and the more I've out there, first of all, I can handle conditions that I wasn't able to do before, or didn't want to do before, I should say. I used to avoid, the winter conditions that were like, where the snow is just like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to be breaking trail. I'm going to be, it's going to be a slog.
Yeah.
It's going to take me extra time. It's like, it's really cold and windy, and, it's not unsafe. It's just that it was not very pleasant. So
Yeah.
I used to be like the fair weather winter person, where now once I started, and really last year was really when I started to just embrace it and just be like, you know what, I've got to get out there. I've got to work in the hard conditions. I've got to be out there breaking trail. It's just going to make me stronger. And it also has just helped to make me more flexible, to be honest. It's like, the more I get out there, the more it's like, okay, you know what? It's hard. It's tough conditions.
Yeah.
It's not the most pleasant, but you know what? It's making me stronger, and it's only going to help me.
Yeah.
Same with the rain this summer. It was like, if I didn't go out in the rain, then I wouldn't have gotten to in the mountains.
I think
So,
it rained every day.
no, exactly. So you just learn to deal with it and learn how to deal. Okay, what do I need to wear? What's the best clothing to wear now that I'm going to be drenched all day long, to help with, with chafing and that sort of thing? What's the best socks and shoes? Because my feet are going to be wet and I don't want to be getting blisters. And
Yeah.
so, you really learn a lot. And also, I don't know what the weather's going to be like on race day, any race, any time of
Yeah.
year. So the more you get used to being out there in those elements, and just being used to the elements, and then also being used to, what do I need to do? What kind of clothing do I need to wear? And how do I take care of my body in those conditions? And then you're learning that. So then when it comes race day, you're not thrown off, you're
Yeah.
there, you're still able to race. You're not now all of a sudden throwing all these other things into the mix that you are not used to. So yeah, that's definitely, I would say, that the biggest challenges have to do with the weather and trail conditions, and just making adjustments. You have to be flexible.
Yeah.
You have to be able to say, okay, well, you know what, I can't do this today, but what else can I do? And then figure out another, mountain that you can do, or trails that you can do. So
Yeah. And there are, so many mountains that are not above tree line that you can go
mhm,
out and do on a crummy day, or don't have
mhm,
a lot of river crossings. So they might not
exactly.
be the most exciting, but at least you're out there and you're gritting anyways. So you have
Yeah.
plenty of boring stuff to do.
Yeah.
So what would you say was your best race experience?
The best was Jigger Johnson.
Mm.
I mean,
Mm.
absolutely. Jigger Johnson 50
Yeah.
miler, because that was, first of all, it was my first 50 miler. So I didn't know what was going to happen. Before that, the furthest I had gone was 32 miles. So it was like that unknown. And also the actual race itself being so challenging, and being, the course that it
Yeah.
was adding to that. I'm like, okay, I'm not just doing 50 miles. I'm like, I'm doing 50 hard. So, and then in the dark, and knowing the trails, I knew all these trails, I knew the course very well. So I knew that it was going to be challenging, like in the dark, in certain sections, like Hancock Notch, for example. It's like that trail, first of all, it's hard to follow. It's challenging to follow even in the
Well,
daylight. Then add the nighttime, add the exhaustion, add the mud that literally wants to like pull you into the trail and take your shoes off. So there's all these extra challenges. So it made it really, really exciting, scary, hard, but exciting.
yeah.
And it also, that race was what truly made me realize what I'm capable of.
Yeah. And you won.
Yeah. Yeah.
You won.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool too. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was like, because every time I would do something new, it was like, it just gave me like more confidence. But something about that race just was like, oh my God, I just felt like I can do anything. So it was
Yeah.
really special. It was a really special race for me. I'm just
And quite the
remembering all the stuff I went through, like all the different feelings
I
and
was like
emotions and the ups and the downs and and then ending all happy. It was just like,
a long race. Like, and for your first 50, I mean, kudos for picking that as your first 50 miler. That's kind of sets the bar kind of really high.
yeah. So that was good. It was an amazing experience for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What would you say like your toughest training experiences, or do you ever have like little voices in your head, voices of doubt? How do you deal with those and what comes into your mind?
Yeah. So for the most part, I have to say, most of the time I do stay pretty positive and
Yeah.
do a lot of and I actually like like I'll talk out loud. Usually I'm solo, Kodiak and I, and, so I will actually talk out loud when it's hard. I'm like, okay, Marilyn,
Yeah.
you know that you can do this because you've done this before. And I'm like, and usually what I'll say, the one thing like that I find myself keep saying over and over is just keep moving, just keep moving, just keep moving forward, just
Yeah.
keep moving. And that tends to be the one thing that I always say when it gets hard, or if I find myself starting to feel like, oh my God, this is tough, or especially in a race, that's when I use the keep moving, keep moving.
Yeah.
But yes, there are times where I'll have in my head when I start to get negative, it's usually what comes out is, why are you even doing this? That's usually what I say. Why are you doing this? And then I'm like, you're doing this because you really enjoy it. I'm not doing it if I'm not gonna do something I don't enjoy. I truly do enjoy it, but I'm just having a moment where it's just hard.
Yeah.
And the toughest training experience, I think, where I really, really had those negative thoughts is, as you will remember, every time I did Tremont, I literally would cry after.
I think most people do.
Because every time, whether I did, sometimes I would do
Yeah.
the out and back from Sawyer
Mhm.
Pond over to 302 and back, or do the loop, start at 302 and go all the way, go over Tremont, backside, loop it,
Yeah.
or just up and down. Didn't matter what I did at Tremont. I was always finding myself saying, why are you doing this? Why are you
So
stupid?
tell me a little bit about Tremont for anybody who doesn't know what that little mountain
It's like,
is.
it's a little mountain, and I
Yeah.
don't know why it gets me. It's just, I think it was probably a mixture of, because every time when I was out there training for it was specifically for the Jipper Johnson. So in my head, I'm like, oh my God, after doing all these
Yeah.
miles, now I have to do this. And it's just it's such a climb. And then the backside is like super steep. I always fall when I go down that backside because it's that sandy kitty litter, little, slippery. And it's like this, and it's all eroding. And then, going through the rest of it, all that backside, the more I did it, the more I got comfortable with it. But the first couple of times, okay, I had never been there before. I'd never been on those trails. It's backcountry. It's like, no, they're not highly trafficked. they were a little bit more difficult to follow. So there was all that stuff combined. It was okay, I've never been on these trails. I don't know where I am. I'm way out in the middle of nowhere. My Garmin isn't even picking up service. It's like, and then I'm keep going in my head. And then this is in the middle of this hard race after I'm so tired. How am I going to do it? So it was just like, I would let all those negative thoughts just like flood me and overwhelm me. So like every single time. So now I can probably go and do that and totally enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because it's a cool little.
It is. It's hard though. So how have you dealt with injuries and how have you overcome them?
I have been extremely lucky where knock on wood, I have never had a serious injury. Actually, my whole entire life. I mean, I have gone through where maybe there's a little niggle or something maybe there's, like my knee might be kind of, just feeling funky, or my lower back might be feeling kind of funky. But I have always, I just let you know straight away, and then you'll give me some exercises, some mobility stretching or other stretching, maybe adjust my training, what I'm doing. And it always is corrected very, very quickly, and then I do maintenance too. Like I do go for the really good sports massages and, started taking my Epsom salt baths and all of that kind of stuff. And I'm very good with doing all of my mobility stretching and all of that too, which I think helps. But I've been pretty lucky.
You have been.
And
you do a lot of strength training too.
Yeah, I do a lot of strength training, but any falls that I've had in the mountains has just been scrapes and bruises and, thankfully. So.
And the summer was good for that with all the slipperiness.
Yes.
It was a very black and blue summer. So what are your future goals?
So, well, the two, I do have, some like a race in December, and then the next two races are some pretty good goals. In March, I have the 50 miler out in Arizona, which I'm really excited about. What makes that extra challenging is because I'm going to be going into the desert. It'll be hot and it'll be in the sun. So that's going to add an extra challenge for me. So I'm looking forward to that challenge. It's going to be just something completely new for me. And then in May, I'm excited for my first 100 miler, the Riverlands 100 up in Maine. And I was very apprehensive about selecting a 100 miler that early on in the season because of the, getting in long runs in the winter here is going to be challenging. But the reason I decided to do it, one, I'm eager to get to my first 100 miler. I'm really eager to do this. And I thought, you know what, this would be a perfect opportunity to really stay strong throughout the winter. And it will, I'm looking forward to the challenge of getting those long runs in all winter long. And then in May, if this race is in May, then that is just a great place to be fitness wise. And then after recovery, then I'm going to have the whole rest of the summer and the fall to do some of the things that we've talked about, which I really am looking forward to. A couple of those big
days,
the big White Mountain projects that I would really like to do. So, which I'm not quite ready to say what that is.
You can keep it quiet.
That'll
keep them quiet.
But there are
just like surprise everyone.
So stay tuned. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. So doing the 100 mile at the beginning of the year will really kind of, I think, put me in a good place to accomplish those other big goals for later in the summer and fall. So.
And so many people are doing that one. It's going to be a party. I mean, so many people that'll be there.
Oh my gosh, I have 6 friends who are doing the Riverlands 100 now. So so it's going to be really great. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So what has your experience been like working with me?
Oh my gosh, it has been just amazingly positive, and it has been it's not just, well, it hasn't just helped me grow as an athlete or, you know, in any of the sports that I do, but it's helped me to grow and become stronger in every aspect of my life, which that has meant so much to me, because it's not just, oh, here's a training, you know, here's your training, go do this, and you know, this is your race. It's what else is going on in my life. You know, it's very holistic. It's, you know, how are my relationships? How is my career? How is my stress? You know, how, you know, and my eating and my sleeping, and it's like it's everything, and it's having the you know, all the mental aspect as well, not just the physical, but the mental, it's everything. And so it has just been such a great experience for me, because it's just helped me, you working with you has just helped me grow amazingly in literally every aspect of my life.
And I just like admire how far you've come again with like absolutely everything in your life. I am so proud of you, and it's an absolute honor for me to work with you because I just can't believe how you've just blossomed and continue to blossom every single day. Like,
Thank you.
definitely one of those White Mountain badasses that are just marching around like kicking ass. It's amazing to watch.
Thank you.
And one last thing, what piece of advice would you give to somebody who's just starting out with either running or mountain running or getting into a fitness routine?
So first and foremost, when you think there's something you want to do, as soon as you get that spark and you're like, oh, you know, as soon as you see something or you read something and you're like, wow, that looks really cool. You know what? Do it. Don't start with the whole negative. Oh, but I don't know. You know, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I'm strong enough. I don't know. Oh, I'm too old or whatever. It's like the minute you get that spark, there's a reason you have that spark. So if you get that, go for it. And one of the best things that helped me is to just sign up for the race. It's like, just do it, sign up. And then once you sign up, it's like, okay, you know what? Now I signed up. What do I need to do now to get ready for this? It's like, once you make that first step, then it makes it so much easier. Cause otherwise it's like, you know, you don't want to just sit back and be like, oh, well, maybe I'll be ready maybe next year. Maybe, you know,
Yeah.
I need to get ready first. I need to do this first. I need to do that first. It's like, no, the minute you get that spark, just follow it and do it, because it means that it's something that you truly want to do. And the other thing is to be patient, because that has, okay, patience has never been one of my ever. I've learned patience through this process as well. And, you know, just be patient with yourself. You know, I used to get so frustrated because I wanted to be, you know, here, but it's like, it takes me a little while, you know? So I did that first race, and then I just kept training. And then I did that next race. And then I did more time in the mountains. And then each time I would just get what my goal was. Maybe I wanted to be, you know, stronger, faster, whatever it is. You know, we all have different goals. Whatever it is, just have patience with yourself.
And you've done a great job with that, and it's definitely paid off too. And, I think one of the really cool things is, showing that it doesn't matter what your age is or what your gender is, you can go out and just excel, like absolutely excel. And it's really cool to see people like drop that thought of like, I'm too old or I'm a woman or I can't do this and just go out there and get it done. So you're a perfect example of all of that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you for taking the time to chat with me.
Oh, thank you for chatting with me.